Well, I'm Cheryl Bosa, Cheryl Kumerow Bosa, and I am a Buckeye for life. I graduated from Ohio State in 1987, and trying to think, went to, I don't know what to say. I
Okay,
honestly,
well, what we were talking about off the air. Okay, so you started out at Illinois.
I started out at Illinois my freshman year, and which and my younger brother is a year younger than me. He was being recruited by almost every school in the country, Eric Kumerow. And Eric, because he and I were so close and he was such like a homeboy and we're from Chicago, he thought, okay, great, I'll commit to Illinois. And I wasn't real crazy about University of Illinois. So I said to Eric, listen, I'll go wherever you want to go. And he said, I really want to go to Ohio State. And I said, well, great, because that's where I want to go too. So when he committed to Ohio State, that's when I started my transfer process for the following year.
And what got you interested in Ohio State?
Well, I had when I was in high school, my older brother played for Indiana and they were playing a game at Ohio State. So me and my dad went to that game and it blew me away. I thought, I have never been in a stadium like this. I've never felt anything like this in my life. It was so exciting. So I'd always had this thing for Ohio State. And now it's in me. Now it's,
right.
Now I
Right.
bleed scarlet and gray. So that's all there is to it.
Well, for those of the people that are watching this that live under a rock, your last name now is Bosa. If you would like to explain to them what your connection with the Bosa name is to Ohio State, I'm sure people would be interested in that.
Okay, well, my brother in 1988 was the first round draft pick out of Ohio State to the Miami Dolphins. He was actually the 16th pick in the draft in 1988. The year prior to that, a fella out of Boston College named John Bosa was the 16th pick in the draft to the Miami Dolphins. So they were both the same pick 1 year apart from each other.
Position, yeah.
And I went to visit my brother in Florida for a game and met John, and the rest is history. So we dated long distance for a little while, and then I moved to Florida, and we got married and had Joey and Nikki. And from birth, my Nicky was a Buckeye fan. He was 100% born with the scarlet and gray blood in his veins. Joey, not so much. Joey was kind of the anti-Buckeye. And so, Nick and I had to deal with that over the years on Saturdays when we were watching games, and Joey cheering for the other team or whoever
it was.
Yeah, or whoever
Right.
it was. Yeah. And Nick was so funny because when he was like 13 and he got braces, his bands, he got, scarlet and gray bands, like everything was Buckeye for him. So it was great. It was really cool. And, he wanted to emulate his uncle and
Right.
and whatnot. But then obviously when it got closer, when we knew that the kids' talents were pretty, exemplary, and we knew that we had to start thinking about, where they would go play in college because it would have an impact on their future. That's when, Joey was still, really not keen on Ohio State. He was a hair away from committing to Alabama,
Okay.
which would have killed me. But I kept a poker face and, just let him do his thing and supported him and whatnot. And as far as Joey was concerned, it was the year that Urban Meyer got offered the job. And Joey didn't even want to visit Ohio State. And all of a sudden, Urban got the job, and he came home from school one day. I think he was a junior. In high school. And like I told you, I was keeping the poker face. And
right.
He came home from school one day, and he said, Mom, I think I want to visit Ohio State. Well, I had just been dealt, 4 aces right there. Okay. and I had to keep my face.
Put them on the table.
Straight. Yeah. And I went, well, all right, we'll do that. Let's do that. I wanted to, jump up and down and scream with joy, because I knew as soon as he visited there, it would change everything.
Right.
And let me tell you, that is exactly what happened. We did a Midwest tour of Wisconsin, Ohio State, and the team up north. And it was after the visit to Ohio State that I could see it in his face. I could see that he was done, that was it. The spring game was the following weekend.
Okay.
We came home back to Florida, and he said to me, any chance we could go to the spring game next weekend? And I'm thinking in my head, you can't get a hotel room. You can't, it gets so crowded. The flights are going to be outrageous. I went, sure, absolutely.
We'll figure it out some way.
Yeah, I just did it. And when we went to the spring game the next weekend is when he committed. And that
was he being recruited by Urban Meyer when Urban Meyer was in Florida?
No, Urban had
retired the year before. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he was still kind of like
visited Florida. It was Muschamp.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he wasn't quite at that point. He was still up in the air, but he had options, obviously.
We were looking at. The main schools we were looking at were, you know what? His second choice, at least I could say my second choice was Florida State. That was back when Jimbo was there. Okay. And they had some really amazing defensive line coaches there. And obviously it's the position coach that's, the most important for your kids. So, yeah. Which brings us to Larry Johnson, who's the man, by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I don't think that we outside of the whole process don't understand. We all think the head coach comes in, sits down, and says blah blah blah, and you go, "Oh, I love him." It's the guy that you're going to see every day.
Of course, that you live with. I mean, you're like, the D line. It's the guys and their position coach.
Right.
They're together.
Right.
More than any other humans are together in their lives.
And so at this point, once he commits, you've basically, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you've given them to Larry Johnson. How does that feel?
Larry wasn't there. Joey was there. It was Vrabel.
Okay.
Yeah. Mike Vrabel was the position coach at that time for the first year, and then Larry came in the following year. So Joey's sophomore year.
Okay. So what is that experience as a parent? Even though they're where you want them to be, you've now said, okay, now here he is.
Well, I really trusted Urban with that. Okay. I really did. Yeah, Urban really does take care of the boys like they're his own, and it's the most incredible family environment feeling, that emotion you get, that safety you get from family, and so I trusted him completely, and he just really keeps an open rhetoric. And, I could call him whenever I wanted to, or, I could talk to him about, silly things that I'm worried about, just like you would with, an uncle or a family member or whatever, So, yeah, I always had Mike too, Mike Vrabel. I could call him. Luke Fickle, I could call him. Just a very open door family feeling there.
It's got to make you secure because you're still in Florida except for game days.
Exactly.
I'm assuming, right?
I'm flying there every weekend, but yeah. and then forget about it. I mean, I love Rabes, don't get me wrong, but Larry Johnson, OMG. I mean, he's literally one of the most wonderful people I've ever known in my life, honestly.
And I think again, outside of it, we don't understand how important that is. Yeah. And as we're talking about now going back, when you have that experience, like you said, Buckeye for life.
Yeah.
That gets you involved in family for life, basically, gets you involved in that.
No doubt.
So that's pretty impressive. Okay, so now that, I hate to say it, now that they're not there anymore, what does the Buckeye experience change to for you?
Well, I miss it desperately. And I, obviously, over the years, the friends that I've made, I was there for 6 years with the boys, 3 for Joey and 3 for Nick. And I didn't miss one home game. I was there for every single home game. I did miss a few away games, but that's how I would balance the boys. I'd be like, I'll be at all your home games, but maybe the weekend that you're not home, I'll be at the other one's games or whatever.
Right.
So that's how I would balance that. But it's last year killed me because I know I'm not going to get back to a lot of games. I'm splitting myself in 2 right now, with them being, one in San Francisco and the other one in Los Angeles, which that sounds like they're really close to each other, but they're not. They're not close to each other.
Right. And the schedules aren't just because they're on the West Coast doesn't mean they're both on the West Coast. Right.
It's a plane ride,
Right.
It's not just jumping the car, So, trying to balance that. And this year their schedules left 0 for a home game at Ohio State. I trust me, when the schedules come out, I put them side by side. I figure out where I'm going, what makes sense. And then I put the Ohio State schedule in there and be like, how? And there was not one game that I could figure out how this year. So
if one was playing in Cleveland on a Sunday, maybe you could get to a Ohio State game on a Saturday. But
it was it. There was nothing that made sense in my schedule. Yeah. So it was unfortunate. But, I mean, I love my Buckeye people, and I keep in touch with, with them. And we went to the same tailgate every single home game for 6 years.
Now, as you said, you've got older brother went to Indiana, younger brother went to Ohio State. When they get together and you all get together, how does that play?
Yeah, I got them.
Wait, Nick, I'm doing I'm doing an interview right now. Can you go in the other room or outside?
Or he can join you if he wants.
He's on the phone with somebody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know who he's talking to. Yeah.
Well, just tell him you're talking about him, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So when you get the brothers together, and I know it's kind of tough now. I know getting family together as we get older is kind of tough. But is it okay?
I'm with them all the time. Are you kidding?
Okay, good. So when you get your brothers together, you go, okay, Eric, I'm going to side with you. It's like, for example, if it's a Indiana-Ohio State game, how do they play out on that?
Well, Eric went to Ohio State, and and I don't think Craig really cares, much about Indiana. So so that's not an issue.
Okay.
There's no real rivalry, and I think that question leads me to John went to Boston College, and did it bother John that the boys went to Ohio State?
Right.
Well, no. He knew that the boys were at a level that they needed to be at a place like that.
Right.
The coaches in a school like that. So he never once was like, that's a problem. So no, there's never been, any rivalry, anything like that, So.
Well, it is kind of that, I hate to say, but this is what we're talking about. Ohio State kind of trumps most people. Yeah. So I get that. Yeah. I mean, my sister went to Ohio Northern briefly for like a quarter, and we go, I don't remember that. I don't remember that at all. Really? You went to Ohio? Oh, yeah. We don't talk about that. We talk about the rest of the time about Ohio State. So, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you being on. I really do. I know that, Nick just walked in, so he probably has something he wants to talk to you about. So this was great.
No, Nick's still living with me.
Okay.
The boys live in Florida during off season. They
Okay.
live here and train here. Joey lives about 10 minutes from here, and the place Nick bought is not done yet. And then obviously with this horrible, virus situation, it's taking longer for his condo to get finished. So he splits time between Joey's place and my place, and then Joey's here every night for dinner. So
Right.
he was here for breakfast this morning. So I'm literally with them all day, every day, which I loved. I would have it no other way.
But I'm sure being who they are, this downtime is probably a little ridiculous for them.
They're really focused, just like they are in everything else they do. They're super focused. They're doing their training. They found, some remote spots to, follow through with their training, and they have their own trainer. So it's just their trainer and them. And so they're just doing what they do. And then mom's cooking for them. And we're all, we're just keeping ourselves in this nucleus and,
functioning as a team. Yeah, functioning as a team. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. This has been fantastic. I love the insight that I don't think we're going to get from too many people. It's a unique experience, obviously. And if you ever want to talk again, please let me know.
Oh, anytime.